Hello, good afternoon. My name is Justin Stairs, and this is the Brussels Signal Studio. Today it is September the 29th, and we're very happy to have the Ambassador for Azerbaijan to the European Union, Mr. Vaqif Sadiqov. Thank you for finding a few minutes to come in and talk to us. This has been a dramatic week, a week of fast-moving news events. The Armenian-supported government in Nagorno-Karabakh has surrendered after a brief military operation and has announced that it will be dissolved. It will dissolve itself by the end of the year. I would like to ask you essentially, today, where are we? Obviously, we have seen reports of ethnic Armenians fleeing Nagorno-Karabakh. Tens of thousands are fleeing. There have been obviously all kinds of allegations and videos circulating on the internet. There have been even allegations of ethnic cleansing and maybe destruction of property. What is happening, please, sir?
First of all, thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be in your studio, and I'm very glad that I have the opportunity to speak to the viewers of the Brussels Signal. Now, a few words about your question, or rather a group of questions, and all of them would require some brief introduction. Several basic facts that your distinguished viewers and audience should know about the topic of today's conversation. In 1992, immediately after the collapse of the Soviet Union, when instead of the one country we immediately had the 15 former Soviet republics in the form of the independent sovereign states, already by that time the 20% of the territory of Azerbaijan were under occupation by Armenia and by their allies. Before that, in 1987 up to 1989, 300,000 Azerbaijanis living at that time in Armenia, and they were the biggest ethnic community in Armenia after Armenians themselves were kicked out from Armenia. And since that time they are still on the territory of Azerbaijan as refugees. When the military occupation of Azerbaijani territory started, additional 700,000 Azerbaijanis were also ethnically cleansed in that period, and so since 92 until 2000 we were having on our territory a community, a mixed community of refugees and internally displaced persons totaling 1 million in the country of 10 million. So these are the facts. Since 92, Azerbaijan has been conducting in the so-called Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe the negotiations with Armenia, with the mediation of a number of countries, so the so-called Minsk group, which at that time was composed of 12 countries, including Russia, US, and France as the co-chairs, and 8 or 9 other countries, with the objective of having the peace treaty and comprehensive settlement of the conflict. But regretfully, until 2020, these efforts were fruitless. They were futile, and we simply lost 28 years of empty negotiations. Then in 2020, Armenia decided to go further, and they attacked Azerbaijani positions along the line of contact on the 27th September 2020, and that provoked the resumptions of military hostilities. On the very first day of the Armenian attack, we lost 14 civilians, including children and elderly people, after the attack by surface-to-surface missiles against our cities. And this is how this last episode, that is a 44-day-long war, started, and it ended up with the trilateral statements signed by the presidents of Azerbaijan, Russia, and Prime Minister of Armenia on the 10th November 2020. The major provisions of this trilateral statement, which is the legally valid document, consist of very important elements. One of them is the withdrawal of Armenian military forces in parallel with the introduction of Russian peacekeepers. And we're talking about approximately 2,000 peacekeepers. Now we are in 2023, and you should know that the implementation of that legally binding provision by Armenia, which was established, as I said, in November 2020, they never did it. They never implemented until the military operation which Azerbaijani forces, or rather that was an anti-terrorist measures actually, because they were already not military forces, but they were on the territory of Azerbaijan, and we consider them as the big group of armed terrorists. Until, as I said, until 19 September 2023. So during 3-year period, despite the fact of the legally binding obligation by Armenia, 10,000 heavily armed military servicemen, including the tanks, missile launchers, artillery pieces, electronic warfare installations, and things like this, which is 10,000. It's more than one motor rifle division. We're on the quite limited territory of about 3.5 thousand square kilometers, fenced by the Russian peacekeepers. And actually what they have been doing, they have been shooting into our soldiers. They were mining the roads, establishing anti-tank, anti-personnel mines on the roads used by civilians, and so on and so forth. And actually the presence of this military force of Armenia on the territory of Azerbaijan was the major impediment to the peace treaty, which was proposed by Azerbaijan itself, despite the fact that we won that war in 2020. Already in January 21, we proposed ourselves to Armenia to sign this peace treaty, which would, the idea was to put into normal framework the interstate relations between two neighboring countries. Because before that, due to the occupation of our territories, which lasted for 30 years, we never had any meaningful international document regulating relations between two neighboring countries, as it would normally should be happening. The initial response of Armenia came not earlier than about 2 years. It took them to digest the proposals of Azerbaijan. Actually, the draft peace treaty, it's not a big document. It's just 3-4 pages document, which has in its heart the major elements which are normal for the UN Charter. That's the mutual recognition of sovereignty, territorial integrity, not use of force, not use of threat of force, not use of the territory of the countries to undermine the sovereignty of other countries, and things like this. So there is no any hidden clauses or any hidden agenda into it. But this is a beginning, and then all other elements in the form of the legal documents which would regulate our relations between Azerbaijan and Armenia should be the derivatives of the major peace, which is the peace treaty. But as I said, it took Armenia more than 2 years to get the first response to this draft. Negotiations are going on, and we are aiming at the peace treaty with Armenia. For your viewers, I would like to put things into certain framework so that people who might not be well prepared and not knowing the details of all this story. We are looking at the situation that you mentioned, looking at it as the presence of 2 clusters of issues. So the first cluster is the situation in relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And this is the international issue, the issue engaging 2 independent states. And here we would welcome any proposal for mediation, any support or assistance. And this is actually what is being done by the European Union, by the United States, and by Russian Federation. And Russia. We do not give any preference to any platforms. What is important for us is to finally reach this long overdue peace, which will be important element for the development of the whole region. It's not only Armenia and Azerbaijan, it's also Georgia, the whole peace in the South Caucasus, and for the prosperity of these people that live there. This is the first thing. We highly appreciate efforts of all 3 countries or group of countries, so that is EU, US, and Russia. We participate in all of these meetings, and for us, whatever we can gain at each of these platforms is important contribution to the overall issue of peace. So this is, and the negotiations are going on. Speaking about the European Union, we highly appreciate the personal efforts and wisdom of Charles Michel, the EU Council President, and his work that he has been carrying on together with his team to move this process forward. There are, of course, ups and downs in this process, but it's the situation which has a very long history, and that cannot be done overnight. The second cluster of issues is the situation with the Armenian residents of the Karabakh region of Azerbaijan, and here this is mostly the issue of relations between the central government, the central authorities of a country, in this case it is Azerbaijan, and its residents living on its territory. Azerbaijan is historically a multi-ethnic and multicultural and multi-ethnic and multi-confessional country. We have on the territory of Azerbaijan a lot of ethnic groups, much more bigger in terms of the numbers. These are Georgians, Ukrainians, Russians, Jews, Kurds, Talysh, Lezgins, and so on and so forth. We have in Baku itself, which is a city of about 3 million, we have about 30,000 Armenians in mixed marriages living until today here in Baku. By the way, in Armenia you won't find any single Azerbaijani living right now. As I said, 300,000 Azerbaijanis who at that time, before the collapse of the Soviet Union, constituted 10% of Armenian population. Of that time, it was 3 million. Well, they have been kicked out of Armenia. So now coming back to the situation.
Coming back to the situation of today.
Yeah, to the situation of today. But these were some important elements of the history. Otherwise, you cannot. So now on the what happened on the 19th of September. On the 19th of September, during the patrol mission, 6 policemen of Azerbaijan struck an anti-tank mine, and all of them were killed right on the spot. And they struck the mine on the road, and we inspect, control our roads almost every day, which the mine has never been there even a few days ago. After the immediate on-spot investigation, we understood that the mines were planted by a military unit or a subversive group belonging to this same 10,000 people, 10,000 strong army, which was still there within the area where the temporary deployed Russian peacekeepers were taking care of. A few hours after that, another mine struck, and that time these were the victims. The two guys which were killed also on the spot were 2 civilians of some Azerbaijani company dealing with electricity grids and things like this. So we had, in a span of several hours, we had 8 people killed on the spot, killed by the mines which were established. And that is why the government immediately took a decision to start the local, of a very local frame anti-terrorist operation in Azerbaijan. And less than 1 day, it took us 22 hours to have the precision strikes against the military installations of this belonging to these 10,000 people, so that to make them lay down the arms. And after 22 hours, they made through Russian peacekeepers, made an appeal to us, saying that we're laying down arms. Please stop the fighting.
How many people died?
Yesterday, the Azerbaijani government announced the number of killed persons killed in actions. Our army lost 198 persons, and also about 300 wounded among our servicemen. I would like to
on the other side?
On the other side, in accordance with the information provided by Armenia sources themselves, they said that almost the same. Armenian news agency said that there were 200 people killed, including 10 civilians. so it means to 200 minus 10 civilians, it means exactly 190 something Armenian servicemen, and about, as they said, about 400 wounded, including 30 or 40 among civilian population. So, which means that about 350 or something, these are the military. So these are the very tragic results in terms of the casualties, in terms of fatalities. Now, I would like also to draw the attention of your viewers to the following. Almost 200 casualties among military, in one day, it's a very high figure. Taking into account that Azerbaijani army is highly professional, and the war of 2020 showed it, were very well prepared, equipped, armed, and they have a lot of experience in the military warfare. 200 killed shows actually two things. It shows how strong was the resistance of these 10,000. And this is important to know, because now Armenian propaganda and some circles here in Europe also say that, oh no, you know, these were simply peasants with hunting rifles. They have to defend themselves, their homes, and trying to present the picture of, of the angels who were defending against the order of monsters. So that is Azerbaijan. And secondly, that also shows another thing, which is very well known to military experts. We didn't use contactless warfare to destroy these military installations by missiles, long-range artillery, and by bringing to the minimum, in that case, the losses among our land forces. We could simply sit and wait when these missiles will destroy everything. However, taking into account the rough terrain and the location of these military installations, the majority of them were either very close to settlements, villages, and towns, or exactly inside them. So the mass, large-scale use of even of the precision weapons, strike weapons, would immediately bring
civilian casualties.
Absolutely.
This happened in order to avoid.
Absolutely. That's why we brought to the minimum the use of heavy weapons, and we sent forward the land forces.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, I will stop here.
No, but I want to bring you, please, to the situation today, because obviously now we have the situation of the people, and in fact, I don't know precisely. I've seen figures, but I don't know how many people we're talking about. There are, for example, this figure of 120,000 ethnic Armenians. Is that figure correct in Nagorno-Karabakh?
You mean the overall population?
Yes.
No, it's not. It's not correct.
What is the correct figure?
It's not correct. The overall population of the Nagorno-Karabakh former autonomous oblast in the period of the Soviet Union, immediately on the eve of the breakup of the Soviet Union, was about 170,000, 100 maybe 75,000, out of which about 25% were Azerbaijanis, that is about 40,000 or something. The rest were ethnic Armenians. Taking into account that with the start of the conflict, this Azerbaijani segment of Nagorno-Karabakh population was also kicked out or ethnically cleansed, the remaining full number of Armenian residents in Nagorno-Karabakh was about 140,000. During these 30 years, some of them already left, and so we in reality were talking about maybe 50, 60,000 people living there, plus this 10,000 military.
So these figures, because now, of course, we have figures over the last few days, or the latest figure that I've seen today, 88,000 fleeing. So that can't be true.
These are the figures provided by the Armenian side. We don't have the independent confirmation of these figures, and so that, of course, require time to check whether this is a real figures or are inflated figures. Now, coming back to the...
Yes, please. I must insist, please.
Yes,
so,
please.
I mean, is it everyone is now fleeing? Is that the case?
No,
however many people they are? And if they are fleeing, why? Why are they fleeing?
I see. In the period of the 30-year-long occupation, the residents of Armenian origin living in this territory, of course, not of them were serving in the army or shooting against Azerbaijan. There are civilians, there are elderly people, women, and so on and so forth. During these 30 years, despite the fact of the occupation, these residents living in the former Nagorno-Karabakh region, they still were, until today, they were considered the citizens of Azerbaijan, because according to the constitution of Azerbaijan, nobody can deprive them as in the form of punishment. So legally or technically, they are still citizens or nationals of Azerbaijan. We have always been saying, even before this latest situation, that they are citizens of Azerbaijan, and the government of Azerbaijan provides all the assurances or all guarantees of the security, and we would like very much for them to get back into the political and socio-economic fabrics of Azerbaijan.
So you're saying there's no reason for them to flee?
Absolutely.
These reports of destruction of property, etc.?
Absolutely. We have been saying that before, and we are saying that today. As regards the destruction of property, as I said, that the operation has taken only, it was a lightning speed operation. It took only 1 day. So the information about the large-scale bombing of civilian settlements, I don't know, explosions, tortures, massacres, and so on, this is all blatant lie. Tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, we will bring, where the decision has been taken, the UN mission to establish facts or whatever, representing under the auspices of the US resident coordinator in Azerbaijan, including representatives of all possible relevant UN agents. And so that will be, and we will also now open the door also for international media, because there were situation was dangerous, and we were taking care about that. From tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. The decision was made public just several days ago. It was negotiated with the US.
And the people who have fled, will they be allowed back?
The issue of people fleeing, this is, you have to understand that this is the personal choice. When we are saying about cleansing, ethnic cleansing, the expression which was used in terms of the situation in Georgia, Moldova, Kosovo, and so on and so forth, Rwanda, the expression ethnic cleansing means that somebody is cleansing somebody else. In case, for example, of Azerbaijanis who were ethnically cleansed from Armenia, the Armenians were shooting into their bags. They're burning their houses, and there are evidences of this. And that's why people went by night through the snowy mountains. In case of the events of 19 and 20 September, all of these people were going in their own private cars, in the transportation means. Azerbaijani government provided a few days ago about 30, 40 additional buses by the request of the local authorities to help them with the transportation. We are providing the fuel for them. So the expression ethnic cleansing or forced expulsion actually doesn't have any proof. People, if they want to leave, yes, we regret this, because the government of Azerbaijan on numerous occasions, both before 19 September and in particular in this last week, we made messages to them through the mobile phones. We made the appeal of the foreign ministry. Just 2 days ago, President himself on the public level said that we please don't leave, and the government of Azerbaijan.
Okay. And if they want to come back, can they come back?
Of course they can. Of course they can.
Are you willing to accept dual nationality?
In the constitution of Azerbaijan does not envisage dual nationality. Those who are receiving the nationality of another country, they might have 2, 3, 4, whatever. They are obliged to notify the authorities of Azerbaijan about that. But that does not necessarily mean that they have to lay down the second or third nationality. But as minimum, they have to register it.
So it is possible.
It is possible.
I must push you, because there are other issues now.
Yes.
Looking ahead. Now, the President Erdogan of Turkey and your President, Ilham Aliyev, met this week to discuss Nagorno-Karabakh and also the Zangezur corridor and let me get the pronunciation right.
Yes.
Nakhchivan exclave.
Exactly. You have excellent pronunciations.
Thank you. Now, obviously, people have been speculating about some kind of transit link between Azerbaijan and the enclave, and also maybe there is speculation does Azerbaijan want to annex more of this territory to ensure this? What happens now?
I see. A short historical reference. You have this beautiful map here.
We're going to put this on the website.
Yeah, so you see that this is the continental Azerbaijan, let's put it this way.
Okay.
This is the Azerbaijani exclave of Nakhichevan. The population of Nakhichevan is about 500,000 people. I don't go into details how it happened that it has been separated from the mainland Azerbaijan.
Okay.
Yeah,
In the middle we have the corridor, the Zangezur corridor.
Exactly.
Yes.
This blue line here, it is exactly the former railroad. I stress former because in the period of the former Soviet Union, this railroad from Azerbaijan via Armenia, then again Azerbaijan, and then the line to Iran was functioning.
Okay, so what do you want now?
Yeah, we want, actually it's not that we want. The reopening of this Zangezur corridor is another legal obligation prescribed in the same trilateral statement which I mentioned. That is the 10 November 2020. And the idea behind a reopening of this corridor is very simple. Armenia, due to its policy of annexation, occupation, actually had only one railway out of it, and that is to Georgia, from Armenia to Georgia and back. So what we propose actually is the following, and this is reflected in this trilateral statement, that let us open this 35-kilometer long railway, which was destroyed during occupation. We put into order the remaining part, because that was also in the territory which was under occupation. And after that, Armenia will get a through connection, first of all, to Nakhichevan, and from Nakhichevan they can go to the friendly Iran. Now we are building also a railroad to Turkey. They can go there.
Okay.
They can go to Azerbaijan. They can go via Azerbaijan to the ally Russia. They can go through Azerbaijan, crossing Caspian Sea to Central Asia.
Okay,
so whatever.
Okay.
That's
so
that's the idea.
Good for both countries.
Exactly.
And what about speculation that that Azerbaijan will want to annex part of Armenia in order to ensure this transit corridor?
The expression corridor is understood by Armenian government and some and in expert community, even here in Europe, as something which has the extra territorial character, whereas our understanding is completely different. Not the president of Azerbaijan, not any single representative of the government of Azerbaijan never said that this railroad, once it's become functional, would be a part of the territory or would get into the jurisdiction of Azerbaijan.
Okay.
It's a completely lie. What is written in this trilateral statement, and regretfully people like to make judgments only on the basis of what's happening today, never taking a labor to look into the basic legal documents. What is written in this document is that this road would be the movement of cargo and passengers of the traffic would be regulated or controlled by the Russian military. But here I would like to say that the relations to this Russian military and Armenia, this is their internal matter. Right. We as Azerbaijan, we have nothing to do about it.
So what you're saying is Azerbaijan has no designs on any territory in the Zangezur corridor?
Absolutely. We are talking about the movement, because so far nobody has ever asked how these poor guys, 500,000 here in Nakhichevan, are surviving.
Okay.
And I'll tell you how they do it. We support the normal life in this territory in Nakhichevan by allocating fantastic amount of money and arranging every day more than 10 flights from Baku to Nakhichevan. If you want to go by flying through the airspace of Armenia, thanks God the airspace of Armenia during all these 30 years of occupation was manned by the Russian Air Defense Forces. So when our pilot is flying through Armenia, we never hear Armenian traffic controller, but the Russian military. Or if you wanted to go by land, we were obliged to make a bypass to go into the territory of Iran and then again to the territory of Nakhichevan. So we were never having a chance, never given a chance to allow these 500,000 people to live a normal life. So they were actually in the state of blockade. So that is why it is very simple.
Understood.
Armenia is the biggest beneficiary.
I asked you this question because I want to know if what's happened this week in Nagorno-Karabakh, is it the end of a conflict or the beginning of a wider conflict? That's why I asked.
It is the beginning of the new stage in the development of our relations with Armenia, and we would like to believe that the Armenian government would be smart and wise enough not to miss this chance. I cannot be 100% sure about the wisdom, because regretfully in the past there were cases when this wisdom was not put to test and was not displayed. But we believe that now the fact that this pseudo government announced that they are dissolved as of the January 1st, that opens a historic opportunity for Armenia to finally come to peace terms with Azerbaijan, which will, at the end of the day, will provide normal relations for the development of the whole region. We are not interested in having poor, angry, and revanchist countries just in our neighborhood. It serves against our security interests.
Okay, Ambassador, we have to leave it there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
again.
Thank you so much. And thanks to Brussels Signal and its distinguished viewers.